Welcome, fellow wine lovers. This is the Wine Ghost podcast. I'm Mate Vash, sommelier and seeker of hidden stories behind the wine labels. For wine tasting clips and video interviews with my guests, please look for the Wine Ghost on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. But now, please grab a glass and listen to how today's ghosts get out of the bottle.
How can a city have a winery and to top it all, an outstanding one? Well, this time I sat down with Peter Mandl from the winery Stadt Krems from the Kremstal region in Lower Austria. Stadt means city in German, so this winery word for word bears the name of this artistic town on the shore of the River Danube, just on the edge of the Wachau region. In this episode, you can hear vintage recommendations from the area, learn about the steepest and most cherished cultivated vineyards in Krems, and how do they taste like? And of course, how does a quiet small city manage to administer such a top-notch winery that the entire city can be proud of? And of course, as always, much more. Enjoy!
So, hi Peter, welcome to the Wine Ghost podcast. Could you please shortly introduce yourself and maybe tell us who you are and where are you sitting, maybe?
Yeah, hello Mate. Thanks for inviting me to the Wine Ghost podcast. It's a pleasure to be here on video and also via sound. Where am I sitting and who am I? Just a small introduction to myself. My name is Peter Mandl and I'm currently working at Weingut Stadt Krems. Right now, I'm sitting in my flat here in Weißenkirchen in the Wachau. So, since when am I working at Weingut Stadt Krems? I'm working there for now 3 years. And before that time, I also did an internship for Harvest. That was in 2017. And after I finished my study degree in international wine business, I started to work for Weingut Stadt Krems in the sales and marketing, and most importantly in the export part of that winery. So everything that deals with customers all over the world, in Austria or in Europe or even in Japan, is my duty to do for this winery. And it's definitely a pleasure to do, because it is an exciting winery, exciting estate, and also an exciting job to bring this winery closer to the people, because that's our challenge, and that's our task to do, is to represent Weingut Stadt Krems and bring it closer to the people, because Weingut Stadt Krems has a very long history, but it has a very short history, to be honest. I'm explaining this later.
Sure.
But that's my task and my job for this winery.
Please, can you explain us how a city can have a winery? Because I think it's quite unique in the world. So.
Yeah, this is true. This is very true. There are only a few wineries with this background all over the world, to be honest, and to be precise, because in Austria, for instance, there's only one winery that has a city in the background. How came that into play? That was, of course, a few hundred years ago. 1210, there was a hospital in Krems where there were a lot of people who need to be cared about, and back at that time there wasn't any industry or any big banking industry or anything else that made money like nowadays. Back then, forestry and viticulture, for instance, in our area, were the most important sources of income. And there was a foundation of this public hospital, and this foundation this public hospital came into possession of vineyards. There were dukes and very important people back at that time, dukes and other people who presented and donated land. They donated real estates to this public hospital, and because of this, also in our area, they donated and presented this public hospital with vineyards. And in 1452, that was a few hundred years later, the city of Krems had a significant holding of vineyards. There was a significant amount of vineyards, and since then, the city of Krems has its own winery, its own wine estate.
And the city is the single owner, right?
The city is the single owner until 2003. That was 18 years ago. The estate was managed and administered by the city, so it was dependent from the politics. It was part of the administration of the city, and until that, of course, this wasn't in a time after the wine scandal. This was a big challenge to run a wine company like this, to be dependent on politics, and there was in Austria. There was a big bang after the wine scandal, and suddenly the Austrian wines were of high quality and sought after all over the world. And Weingut Stadt Krems, or the city of Krems, couldn't manage the winery properly to be in this competition. And 2003, the wine estate was separated from the city. It is legally a private liability company, but the city is the 100% owner of this winery. That's our background.
Mm. And do you also, or how does the management looks like? So it's completely a separate entity, but only the ownership is actually belongs to the city,
yes.
So to say? Uh-huh.
So exactly, the city is the major shareholder, and the winery is definitely independent of the city in all its decisions, whether to invest in vineyards, invest in land, in tracks, in any stuff which we want to improve our wine. When we want to improve our winery, we are totally independent, because we have the trust from the city.
Mm-hmm. And do you also feel that, because the winery is located in the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you also feel that the population has some kind of a deeper bond maybe with the winery? So it's our winery, or so to say?
Yeah, it is like this, because that is going back very long time ago. And somebody's calling. That is very long time ago. The city, or the inhabitants of the city, they bought the wine of the city. And since 2003, when the wine qualities improved again, they were really happy. And right now there is a very good connection from the people of Krems to their own winery. So we have really trusted and loyal customers, so to speak. That's people of Krems and around Krems. And this is very important, and it's not so easy, because we are located really in the center of famous wine growing regions like Wachau, Kremstal, Kremstal. That's where we are, and there are a lot of wineries, and there's a lot of wine around, and people, they can go to Wachau to buy the wine, they can go to Kremstal to buy the wine. But also in Krems, we have a winery, and a lot of people from Krems are connected to their winery, because they are the owners of this winery in the end.
Yeah, that's such a romantic idea. I think it's a beautiful thing if you think about it, because as you said, you are in Lower Austria, really surrounded by the big names. I don't want to mention any other wineries here in this podcast, but yeah, I was also in Krems, in this city. It's a beautiful city, very artistic city also, right? So it's a very a lot of museums and a lot of exhibitions.
It's a student city. It's actually a student city. There are 5 or 6 universities in a city with 25,000 inhabitants. So a very small city actually. And and there's of course a lot of culture and a lot of wine culture. And we are happy to have the loyal customers of the city of Krems who respect and are also happy to have good wines like at our winery.
Sure. So could you please briefly describe the Kremstal terroir or the specific microclimate or terroir that you have, and maybe where are your vineyards located?
You need to have the impression of the Kremstal area, which is divided by the Danube River. So let me quickly, to be honest, I haven't anything prepared, any graphics, but I quickly search for something. You have to see on this graphic, you have the city of Krems. That's where I'm pointing with my cursor. And you have the Danube River, which separates this wine growing region in a southern part. That's in this area, and then this is the northern part. And all the vineyards of Weingut Stadt Krems are located in this area, really within the city limits of Krems, so within the city borders. So all the vineyards are actually located in Krems. And and the terroir is very, very distinctive and distinct. You have, of course, in this area, in the western part, very close to the Danube, you have Stein, which is a district of Krems. And there you have very similar to Wachau, or in fact, it's actually the same geological massive. You have very steep vineyards, very tiny terraces, and the subsoil is just primordial rock. So just simply hard rocks, crystalline rocks that are the foundation of very mineral wines. In the middle part of Krems, which is going to the north, and in this area where the actual Krems River is flowing. So this is the Krems River, where this wine growing region has its name from. In this part, there is a lot of gravel soil. The elevation is very high. So this goes up to 400 meters, and therefore you have a very cool part of this area. The ripening is definitely later than in other parts, than in most of the other parts of Krems and Kremstal. And then you have on the eastern part the area around Krems and Roandorf, between Krems and Roandorf, which is flat, which is very dominated by loess, so a very light and fertile and sandy soil. So these are the 3 parts and 3 areas where the wines, and in more in detail, where Grüne Veltliner has different characteristics.
And you have about 40 hectares right now, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
right?
Our estate cultivates 40 hectares. 30 hectares are cultivated Grüne Veltliner, so 75% is the major share of Grüne Veltliner. Then we have around 7 hectares of Riesling, and the rest of the 3 hectares are Chardonnay, there are Pinot Blanc, there are many different varieties, and small, very small vineyards. So these are rather specialities.
And how old are your vineyards, like in average?
In average, the vineyards are around 20 to 25 years. So in 2003, when the winery was restructured, a lot of vineyards were planted newly and were recultivated. And therefore, most of the vineyards are around 20 years old. But right now, we are also, it is an ongoing process since then. There are a lot of vineyards that are planted newly, that are recultivated in terraced vineyards. So this is the main job in the vineyards, to get vineyards back in shape, to get vineyards productive and fertile and healthy, and this is the main task. And this goes on for a lot of years still.
Yeah. And which varieties are you planting now? Or if you are replanting, you replant always the same varieties, so you concentrate on Veltliner and Riesling, or you maybe you can experiment with other varieties?
No, we rather plant Grüner Veltliner and Riesling. It depends on the vineyard and the location. In rather very meager and crystalline soils, we plant Riesling. And whenever there's a little bit more of humus and earth layer, we plant Grüner Veltliner. But yeah, maybe when the soil type allows it, we plant maybe another variety too. So Pinot Blanc is a variety which may have a potential for the future, but on a large scale, Grüner Veltliner is most important variety for us.
And also not only in the production, but probably as the face of the region, right?
Exactly, because if you look at Kremstal area and the protected designation Kremstal DSC, Grüner Veltliner and Riesling are the only varieties that are designated for Kremstal DSC. And if you want to write the terroir or the name of the vineyard or the name of the village on your labels, you need to have Kremstal DSC, and therefore you need to have Grüner Veltliner and Riesling as your varieties, which makes sense because these are the varieties that grow best in our area, that work best in our area, and that can reflect through the wines, as a wine can reflect this area the best. And also, all the other wineries and estates, they plant Grüner Veltliner and Riesling because this is the variety that has that's a general marketing. To be honest, the stronger or the more wineries sell Grüner Veltliner and bottle Grüner Veltliner or Riesling, the stronger it gets, and the stronger we can grow as Kremstal area.
Yeah, because you also are kind of responsible for export, right? And this winery, if I'm not mistaken, this is more like export oriented, right? So most of your production goes to
exactly.
Other countries,
so
right?
we export almost 2/3 of our production, and therefore in the export, of course, you need to have identification with your area, and when you go to Germany, people know Krems and the city of Krems, and they rather know a Grüner Veltliner from Krems than they know a Muscaris from Krems, right? So Austria and our regions are famous for Grüner Veltliner. Yeah. If you go to Burgundy, you know Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. That's also the same thing. So you can definitely plant a lot of things and a lot of funny things, but yeah,
you need to have a face.
You need to have a face. Yeah.
And you also export to Asian countries, right?
Yeah, on a small scale, because this is a very challenging market. It's a totally different culture, as you know. And if you do not have a lot of contacts and good contacts there, it's very difficult to sell. So yeah, of course, the potential is great. If you make the easy calculation, for instance, in China, if one Chinese drinks one bottle of wine from your winery each year, you can easily calculate. But yeah, that's always a dream, so to speak, or yeah.
Because I also had the great pleasure to sorry to interrupt, but I was thinking of Asia, because I also had the great pleasure to try your wines a few weeks ago, because you were at in our hotel and showed me some beautiful wines, and I kind of had to think of Asian cuisine a little bit, because your wines were so crystalline and crisp, and kind of also the Rieslings. I think they had a particular, or the Riesling in general, the grape variety has a great potential to pair with Asian cuisine. So
yeah, for instance, Japan is a really, really good market for Riesling, just because of the food and the wine and the pairing and the combination. And yeah, that's why Japan is actually the only significant country where we export to in Asia, just because of the Riesling thing and the Riesling combination with Asian food. And yeah, it also depends, of course, on also Asia. These are third countries, so to speak, also in terms of trade. And Japan has a trade agreement with Europe. That's why it's also easier to export to Japan, for instance. And yeah, but nevertheless, it's all based on contacts which you have there. And mostly, if you go there, it's Austrian or German or people that are born in Austria and Germany that are your contacts to get there. And if you want to go there, you need to understand the culture, and you need to also invest money, and you need to invest a lot of time. And yeah, that doesn't happen in just a year or two. That works way longer.
Yeah, and the pandemic doesn't help either, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very challenging.
If we were already talking about maybe your wine style or what I experienced, how would you maybe describe your winemaking signature? Or if I should think about, or if someone should think about the style or the wine style of Stadt Krems, or maybe in a blind tasting, if you're gonna try different wines from Krems, also from Kremstal, maybe from the region, how would you describe maybe this quality, or maybe some of your signature vineyards?
Yeah, our focus is definitely to make crystal clear wines with precise fruit. So all our wines are fermented and aged in stainless steel, besides a few Grüner Veltliner, but a Riesling, for instance, is 100% fermented and aged in stainless steel. And we want to have a really puristic and crystal clear style. That's why our wines have definitely always a good acidity structure. And in the first few months after bottling, they're less approachable. They open up after half a year to a year. It just depends on the quality level where we are speaking about. But in the end, we focus on a fine varietal fruit character and a crystalline character, because that's what our soils give. They have a lot of minerals in the soil. We try to also show that in the wines, to have a very bone dry character. So all our wines are below 5 grams of residual sugar, and yeah, that's where we are happy about.
That I can confirm. So I also had all of what you said, actually, but I also had the opportunity last time to taste also all the vintages. I think Grillenparz. That's what we tasted, right? And
Riesling, we tasted Riesling Grillenparz.
Exactly.
And we had a vertical which showed very good the state, the development of the drinking window, so to speak. After a few years, the wines really open up and are a pleasure and have a charming fruit. But if you drink vintage 2020 now, which I didn't present to you, but which is really closed right now, and our wines they definitely need a little time. They're approachable, but they're less approachable than in a few years, bottle aging time.
Yeah, and they gain tremendous complexity also. So your vines, but you showed me in the youth, maybe they were more like fruit forward, and as they aged, they gained such a depth, and so an inorganic element really. So this really stony element of minerality, if you want to call it, but it's I'm sure it's also some kind of reduction probably. That's why your vines are not so approachable maybe in the youth, but it's I think that these wines are probably also indestructible, I would say. So they could age very well.
Yes.
Yeah. What was maybe the oldest what you tried?
In Krems, the oldest was 1960, which we have in our winery in the Vinothek in the treasury. Back then they had different varieties like Neuburger and Muscato Tonel. They had other varieties, but what you can see is in years and vintages where the yields are rather low, the wines are definitely more ageable. So the ageability is, I think, from these experiences, closely connected to the yield and also to the acidity structure. And that's why we work also in these times with good acidity structure. So also Veltliner, Grüne Veltliner needs to have around 6 grams of acidity, which maybe some people perceive a little too high because it's too straightforward and too hard maybe. But acidity gives life to the wine, and acidity also lets the wine age very good.
Yeah, for sure. And also all of your Veltliners, because a Veltliner has usually, I would say, or in my experience, probably this better, but it has at least 1 gram of acidity less than a Riesling in average, I would say, right? So it has probably less acidity and maybe less vertical, more broader mouthfeel in general. But all of your wines, because I also had the opportunity, I think 2 years ago approximately, to taste in the first lockdown. We had or before the
it was
first lockdown.
1 year ago actually. It was 1 year ago, I think, October in this time.
Yeah, probably.
So more than a year.
And I also tried your Veltliners, and they also had a really good verticality. So they were verticality. I mean, so they were not broad straightforwardness and very not harsh, but really like precise wines, really. And I think that's it's not so easy to find in Kremstal, I would say. It's more. Some Veltliners are a little bit more broader mouthfeel and a little bit more, not vertical, but horizontal wine, I would say. But all of your Veltliners were very fresh.
I would say approachable and rather charming, and fruit forward. But that is very true that also for Veltliner, our style goes towards a straightforward direction to a mineral and good acidity structure. And people in Austria, at least, have to come clear with this. If you go to other countries, for instance, Scandinavian countries, or also maybe to UK or in this area, they like this acidity structure. So because they perceive also this mineralic background. And yeah, but in Austria, of course, people in general, it's always in general, but there are exceptions. But in general, they like more a rounder style, a creamier style, more approachable. Not a wine that kind of hurts, that you feel actually, that has life.
Yeah, it's like energizing, really. Yeah, charging wines.
Yeah.
And could you please introduce your premier cru, so to say, so your erste Lages maybe, or the wines what you really enjoy in your portfolio?
Yeah, our portfolio is based on, of course, the top of our portfolio are the single vineyards. If you talk about origin, the highest standards are the single vineyards. And as we are a member of ÖTW, Österreichische Traditionsweingüter, our highest standards are the erste Lage wines. Yeah, this is our absolute top level of wines. We have two of these. We have one Grüner Veltliner and one Riesling. Riesling Grillenparz, where we talked about earlier, and Grüner Veltliner Wachtberg. So these are our major and most important vineyard names, also in the heads of the people of Krems. So yeah, we are proud and happy to cultivate vineyards there. At Wachtberg, we cultivate around 2 hectares. At Grillenparz, we cultivate 3.5 hectares. And yeah, the wines, if you taste them blind, you always know the best lot in every vintage comes from one of these vineyards. For Grüner Veltliner, the best lots, they come from Wachtberg, and the best lots from Riesling come from Grillenparz. Also blind, when we taste them blind, we know, okay, they have lots of character and they have their personality.
And why? So, what do you think is the reason?
They have a lot of complexity also in the youth, and a lot of, that you feel the character. They have a personality. You know them for a long time, and in every year, or let's say in 9 out of 10 years, the best wines come from these places, because they have, from a climatic point of view, from a geological point of view, they have the properties to grow good grapes, and in the end to make top wines. The conditions there, they are good. You could see that in 2021, so in the current vintage, which we finished more than a month ago now, where the ripening was very late. The harvest was very late. And yeah, at Grillenparz, for instance, it's a very high elevated vineyard with lots of wind, and yeah, and very important is it's very high up on the hill. So 1 month ago we had the first frost. We had the first frost, and frost is always in the lower vineyards, in the very flat vineyards. And there, when you have frosts, the leaves turn brown, the leaves fall. The grapes which are still hanging, they don't get any nutrients anymore. Yeah, and the nutrient supply is dead when you have frost. And at Grillenparz, you don't have any frost because it's high up. And this is also a reason why these vineyards always produce special quality. You always can have top grapes over there. And top grapes are the basis for top wines.
And Grillenparz has then a more puristic, stony, meager soil than Wachtberg?
No, it's then Wachtberg. At Wachtberg you have a lot of gravel. But you also have a good amount of soil, of loess soil. And on Grillenparz, it's different. You have very fine gravel in the upper soil, and then you have a compacted gravel. So gravel stones that were compressed over millions of years. So it is very compact, and this soil can't store water so good. But Riesling has very strong roots and can go through these compact stones. So this is the difference in soil between these two vineyards, and why Wachtberg grows good on Grüner Veltliner grows good on Wachtberg, and Riesling grows good on Riesling. But on Grillenparz, you can also have broader wines. That's just dependent on the fruit, on the ripeness of the vintage, and on the sun time, the sun that the wines and the grapes gain throughout the year. So in a year like 2018, for instance, you had a very dry, a warm, and a hot year, and the wines can be brought too. The acidity is still high, the residual sugar is low, but the wines can, from the perception, can be, let's say, a little bit broader than in years like 2014, which was totally different, which was lots of rain, lots of cool temperatures, where you can have really, bone dry and acidic Rieslings. So it's just dependent on the vintage, on the year, and I think that does not come from the soil.
And other than your single vineyards, what other bottlings do you have?
We have two more significant single vineyards, which we also label and bottle as a single vineyard wine. That is Riedweinziedelberg. It is a vineyard that is located within the city. So the houses and a hospital and whatever around this vineyard, schools, and it is from the altitude a little bit lower because it's located in the city, right? And therefore you have a rather early ripening, and this wine is very good suited for Grüner Veltliner because you have a fertile soil of löss, but in the deeper layers of this vineyard, you also have a gravel, you have primary rocks. So Grüner Veltliner can also gain a little bit the minerals of the soil. So it's a very special vineyard for Grüner Veltliner because the ripening is rather early, and the alcohol and the sugar levels are not too high. So you have a rather elegant wine. You have an elegant wine at around 12.5, 13 point alcohol. And that makes it very charming and I think a modern style which people and sommeliers prefer in these times. Not too high alcohol, not too much extraction and power. So Weinziedelberg would be the wine for this wine drinkers. And then you have one more single vineyard, that is Riedschreck. This is our youngest project. It is a vineyard, or we could purchase a parcel in this vineyard 5 years ago now, and it is the steepest cultivated vineyard in Krems. So you can imagine this is a terroir suited for Riesling. So we have a tiny parcel over there with Riesling, and it's from the subsoil, it's from the humus, and the upper soil is just half a meter. It's just like this very, very small layer of humus and soil, and right beneath is also already a slate soil, a slate like you have in Mosel, Germany, as a Mosel area in Germany. And for Riesling, this is very, very exciting. This is a vineyard where you have always lots of acidity and lots of intensity from the acid So yeah, this is also I would say a single vineyard and a wine that is suited and made for wine freaks and wine lovers.
So you would say that this is maybe the most sparse, most inorganic wine, most stony wine maybe, or most nervous wine maybe in the portfolio.
Definitely, it is in the first few months. You really can feel when there is almost no fruit, and just minerals and acidity. It is very difficult, I would say, for a wine drinker that is not into this matter and into this wine, who is not a wine freak. But the wine freaks understand this wine, and since we have this wine we just finished the 6th harvest in this vineyard, so we don't have these experiences from the ageability, but we are sure that this wine is definitely even more ageable than Grillenparz Riesling.
And this is also then a very young planting?
No, actually, this is our oldest vineyard, because we took over this vineyard. And in this vineyard, we have wines planted 45 years ago. So almost 50-year-old wines. This is our oldest vineyard. The upper parts we planted this year in 2020 in May, new, because in these parts the wines, they weren't that productive anymore. They were really old and weak. But in the upper parts, we have our oldest wines, which are really, really productive and really good. So we will see in the future how it works. And I'm sure that this vineyard and this wine, just makes ageability even better and even more possible.
And which wine is your favorite? If you want to choose
hard to say, to be honest.
One wine from your portfolio,
I would go. This always changes because it just depends on the situation. But in general, I would say Weinzellberg is my favorite wine, because I prefer this style to have elegant and not too intense wines, and still, which is a wine which has a lot of character. So that's the wine that is suited for all kinds of occasions. It is suited for having a small vertical or a small wine tasting. Then it's suited for having a nice dinner. It's suited for any kinds of occasions.
So that's your go-to, so to say.
That's my go-to. That's what I always recommend. But of course, a Riesling Schreck or a Riesling Grillenparz also has its nice facets and opportunities to drink too. So if I would make a high-end tasting and I want to bring a wine of Weingut Stadt Krems blind, I would take a Grillenparz or a Schreck, for instance. Just depends on the opportunity.
On the occasion, And if you are talking about verticals, which vintages were maybe the best ones in the last 15 years, I would say? Yeah,
definitely the ones that you have tasted, 2015 and 2019. I mean, these are warm years and very ripe years, and in the beginning, people always say, and also sommeliers and wine connoisseurs, that this is very broad and very heavy weighted. But in the long run, these wines, they gain their elegance, they gain their complexity. And these are the wines that I'm definitely sure are also very good for aging. And these are, for instance, vintages I have in mind now, which are really, really, really good. But also, of course, the cool climate vintages like 2014, 2016, 2020. And they also have their charm because these vintages are very fruit forward. When you drink them aged, they have a nice, charming fruit. They don't have this intense and complex power. And they have a nice play on acidity and fruit, and that's why these vintages they also have the charm.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, maybe it's a little bit off topic, but I really like to drink colder vintages when they are aged. I think they gain, or I've experienced that older, cooler vintages can age really, really well, and they just let go of this slightly maybe unripe character, or what's maybe lacking for the general public, this really ripe fruit quality, right? This really a lot of primary notes. And when you want to drink an aged wine, especially white wine, but also red wine, but I think especially white wine, you expect a kind of not really minerality, but it's kind of a dried yellow fruit quality with a little bit of skin quality and a minerality, like a lot of secondary notes, right? And I think cooler vintages can show these qualities a little bit better, maybe, or more intensively, because they already had these characters in them, so to say. So the really warm vintages or hot vintages, so as probably 15 was, for example, so they had more primary fruit characters, right? Also in the use. I don't know, I didn't taste the 15 when it was young, but they are probably very different when they are aged, right?
I get your point, and I'm totally of the same opinion. It's always a question of how they approach and what wine drinkers they approach. If you prefer really intense fruit, you would definitely need to choose the warmer vintages. But if you want to have elegant fruit and you want to have that acidic and salinity and saltiness and flow with a little bit of phenolics, then you definitely go more for the cool vintages, clearly. So it's just what you like to prefer. But I think the drinking flow is definitely easier with cooler vintages because the fruit is not too intense, and also the phenolics with acidity, they give a nice drive.
Yeah, for sure. And what do you prefer in your free time? How would you define a great wine, and what do you drink in your free time for pleasure, so to say?
Yeah, I like wines from real hand workers, wineries that work really, where the wine grower really is in the vineyard itself and works really hard. Preferably, to be honest, biodynamic and organic wines, because this is an approach of viticulture that thrives for quality grapes and for quality wines, that enhances and improves the quality of the vineyards and the grapes. But in the end, it has to be made really good. I go for balanced wines where you have a nice balance between acidity and fruit. Any I drink actually from any region, any wine. So I have no clear preference. The wine has to be made good, and there has to be a crafted and handcrafted approach, and that's what I prefer. But if you ask, and if I had to decide, of course, I'm more the Pinot Noir and Riesling guy. Yeah, and what I also prefer is to have wines from the origins. So if you, for instance, Pinot Noir, I really prefer from Burgundy. I prefer Riesling from Germany, so the autochthone character I really enjoy. Although there are also wines from the New World that are exceptional. So yeah, I'm really open-minded.
Yeah, that's. I think it's probably also very important in your job, right? If that you stay open-minded, kind of, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you always need to have your eyes and ears open and taste and learn, and yeah.
And what brings the future for Stadt Krems? What do you think, or what are your plans maybe? Because you already mentioned organic or biodynamic viticulture. Now you are sustainably certified, if I'm not mistaken, right? Do you also have plans to maybe go towards these organic or biodynamic practices, or maybe buy more vineyards, or what are maybe your plans for the near future?
This is a good point. So we're right now, the strategy and future is definitely not to increase the vineyard surface anymore. So at 40 hectares now, we are really at a very high level, and it is really difficult because in viticulture, if you have a certain quality standard and quality level, vineyard working capital isn't that easy to find anymore. And therefore, increasing the vineyard surface is not the strategy. So what we like to do is definitely to go more into detail, to improve the quality of the work, and in turn, of course, organic is definitely one of the next steps. The future will show us how quick and how easy that goes, but we're on a really good way. But as I've told, right now we're in the phase and in the period of recultivating vineyards, bringing vineyards back to life simply, because the vineyards which we took over in 2003 definitely weren't that didn't have the high standards we have right now anymore. But when you want to know how we work in the vineyard, so we do not use any herbicides, insecticides, pesticides. So plant protection is conventional, but in the end, also the soil work. We work with green cover, we work with compost. These are standards that are, I think, if you have a certain reputation, which are normal right now. And the difference then in the end is, do you have organic certification, which means that you protect your plants with copper and sulfur, or not? And right now we are not capable to go into the vineyards that often to spray once a week, so to speak, in a very critical year. We're not ready for that now, but we will definitely be in the next 5 to 10 years, the latest. And it becomes standard because it becomes standard because if you look right now, how many wineries are trying and going for the organic viticulture, you can clearly see that that the speed and the rate that goes with this right now. You can clearly say in at least 15 to 20 years, this is minimum standard.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because yeah, I mean, you have to care about your soil. This is the most important capital you have. And if you have a lively soil, you can the wines can feed themselves from the soil. You don't need to push that much anymore from the outside. You don't need to fertilize that much. And so it needs to become a whole system, a holistic system.
For sure, and also sustainable. So maybe you also want to leave your children or grandchildren the same kind of great parcels or Crus what you have now. So,
I mean, this is a really good point, because in our situation, we are not a family that owns the vineyard. So, but we do have to give the vineyards to the next generation still. And we are in a situation where there is a city behind, and of course the city also needs to have a wish to have a really healthy winery. Sure. And the vineyards are the capital of the winery.
Yeah. You kind of have almost more responsibility on your shoulder than a conventional winery, right? Because you are also the Aushängeschild, so the kind of face of the city, so to say, also.
Yeah.
And
we're definitely a role model for the region. And if you look at our interns, for instance, there are lots of interns who do their first or second internship. Well, that's interns from the area, which have their own winery at home. And we are the first winery to go to for an internship, and that makes us proud too. And sure. we have to give them very good skills on the way. And also what I wanted to bring back come back to, because we're a winery that a city owns, that is owned by a city. We are not that quick when it comes on jumping on this train and this train. So we're not that quick to follow the trends and modern things. So because we can't, we need to have a stable strategy, a stable development. We can't decide now, okay, natural wine things are the deal now. We need to make natural wines in 2 years. So this is not possible for us. So we have a certain responsibility.
But I think it's also an advantage, maybe, right? If you think about it, because if you see a lot of posts on Instagram about natural wine, or maybe rosé is a trend now, or I don't know, PV grape varieties, or I don't know what is trending now. But I think it's also, in the long run, maybe it's also an advantage that you don't have a CEO, or you don't have maybe a young mind in your cellar that says, oh, okay, I saw a lot of natural wine on the market, as you mentioned, so we have to jump on this train, as you referred to. I think it brings also a very constant, quality-minded and well thought out portfolio, right? Because if you buy Stadt Krems, this is the kind of quality, and also this is the kind of process and philosophy also behind the wines, right? So I think it's maybe also for your disadvantage, but also I see it as an advantage, to be honest. So.
Yeah, we see it as an advantage too. And what we have is reliable quality, and you build up your name and your brand over a longer period and longer time. And of course, we rather like to have a longer goal and have a slower development to that goal, and then just jump, 2 meters high, jump 3 meters down, and again. So we rather have a slow and stable development than like this.
Yeah. No, it's good to hear, and I think you are on a good path to assure that, to be honest, and also maybe for the Austrian market, and also probably also for the export markets, or mostly for the export markets, you establish yourself as a stable go-to.
We are on a really good path. We have customers that are really satisfied with our work and with our wines and the prices and our approach. And this is the most important thing. And we do not feel any pressure, and we can develop our strategy and idea. We'll be there in the future too. So that we're really on a good environment.
That's a beautiful last sentence, so let it be. So Peter, thank you really much for your time. Do you want to say something maybe as a last sentence, or your last wish for the listeners?
Yeah, that my wish is to meet a lot of young people in Krems and other wine festivals and restaurants and wherever and I want them to try the wines. I want them to, when they have wishes or they would like to do anything at the winery, they want to see the winery, they just can come back to us, to me or my colleagues. We are there for you. And I just hope to see a lot of young faces getting the idea for Weingut Stadt Krems and getting the idea for the wines of our winery. And this is my only wish.
Perfect, let it be. Okay, Peter, thank you very much and have a beautiful evening. And I hope to taste your recent vintages soon.
Yes, hope to see each other soon. Yeah. Thanks, Mate. And good luck for this winter. And I mean, it's also summer at your hotel. And all the best. And work hard.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much.
Soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Did you like this episode and want to hear more? Then please leave your rating on iTunes under the channels page. That will help others to find this content in the deep sea of podcasts available. Please consider supporting the quality improvement of the content on the Winego's Patreon side via the link in the description, where you can get exclusive access to a number of things by donating a few euros or dollars a month. Like my guest list in advance, you can also ask questions from the guests, an invitation-only monthly roundup, a hidden fee of interesting wine content, and much more. You could also recommend me new guests or just get in contact via the email address in the description, or contact me on the Winego's Instagram or Facebook site directly. Believe me, I don't bite. See you soon and keep on enjoying the ghosts.